That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
On August 9th, 1993, a group of kayakers were on an expedition, enjoying a nice summer's day on the lake, when they glimpsed something pacing them in the woods by the shore. They paddled to get a closer look, and that's when they noticed 17-year-old Valentina Udachenko standing there all alone. They called out to her, but she didn't reply. They asked if she needed help, and she just stood there, frozen. As the kayakers got closer, they noticed that she was covered in blood. Now, Valentina Udachenko had left on a hiking expedition 7 days earlier with 6 other people. And at this point, she had been missing for 2 days. The whereabouts of her 6 compatriots, unknown. This case file joined the boys as they head back into the mountain ranges with the Khamar Daban incident. Welcome to Alien Theorist Theorizing Case File 227, the Khamar Daban incident. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
And I'm Andrew. Oh, I had a great idea for this case file and I forgot to mention it.
What?
We should have fucking added Dan's picture and just had it up and just waited for people to clue in if he was a part of the show or not.
You know what though? You know what I could have done? I could have got Dan to just film himself unimpressed for like 2 minutes and then just looped it.
Yeah, that's exactly
so he moved a little bit.
A little bit of a wobble.
Yeah, just nothing.
Yes, Dan is getting settled in Thailand. I believe last time we talked to him, he had some interviews lined up. He was getting in place. I haven't talked to him since though. So,
that correct? He might be. I think he might. What's it? So it's Monday. So he might actually be at an interview right now.
We should
Good luck, Dan.
Call him mid-interview.
I'll be honest with you though, because even if he was available, I don't know if he'd want to be a part of this one.
No, this is some gore. This one, good thing you reminded me about that because, what is it? Trigger warning? Is that what you tell people?
Sure.
Trigger warning.
This one's fucking PG-13 for sure, boys.
Yeah. PG-13. There's going to be some, little blood, little gore,
little descriptive,
some reenactments,
some gargles,
yeah,
simulated blood,
lots of. So yeah, if you don't like that stuff, fuck you.
Or just bear with it and just live with it for the rest of your life.
Earmuffs.
Yeah. Earmuffs. Yeah, we'll say that every time before we
earmuffs. Okay.
Earmuffs.
No, it's going to come tumbling out.
This one is a very, very interesting case because one, it's not well known. It's not very well known. And the case that it's most similar to is one of probably everyone's favorite mysteries, and that's Dyatlov Pass.
It's got some crazy parallels to Yuba County too.
Yep.
Yes, it does. And the interesting thing with this one is, unlike, both of those, this is fucking in our lifetimes. This happened. 1993.
93. We're just wee gaffers back then, but
still, fucking, when they were showing the pictures of the people that were involved in this and stuff, and like, I'm like, why are these pictures in black and white? This is 1993. Like, I've never felt so old. I'm like, what the fuck is this? They made it look like it's from like 1942.
Well, and the thing is,
the Soviet Union.
That's the thing, right? It was the Soviet Union. They had the Iron Curtain and stuff. So it's like, they didn't have access to all of this, like what we had in the West.
They didn't have color digital cameras yet.
Yeah, when you look at these pictures, you're like, are we sure this isn't 1963?
That's exactly what I thought when I was looking at it.
Did the Russian translation, was it a flip 6 or something that it was lost in translation?
So you're telling me they're taking black and whites while we're watching The Lion King in the movie theaters?
That's what it seems like.
Come on.
Poor guys.
Yeah. I got some of those pictures too. I'll prep them for when we need. Actually, maybe I'll throw one up here. Where is it? No, that's not one. That's not one.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, nice black and white.
That's a picture from 1993. It's literally the worst camera you've ever seen in your life taking the picture.
But the camera might suck, but the case is fucking wild. So,
oh, fuck yeah. Buckle up.
It was August 9th, 1993. A group of tourists that were kayaking through the region. I believe they're from Ukraine, actually.
They're from
the translation for kayaker in like a lot of the Russian web pages is water tourist.
Restart. August 9th, a group of water tourists were on an expedition through the rivers of the region when they glimpsed something seemingly to move in the woods. As they approached.
Yeah, pacing them.
Kind of like, pacing them on the side. As they kind of approached, it looked like a young girl, alone. Maybe hard to tell, but teenager of some age. When they call out to her, asking if she needed help, there was no reply. It seemed like her jacket was drenched in blood. And whatever she had seen in the mountain, whatever she had witnessed or been a part of, which drove her to that river, seemed to have petrified her with fear. Frozen. She couldn't speak. Covered in blood. Scared silent.
Like in just utter shock.
That girl's name was Valentina Udachenko. And upon finding her, the water tourists proceeded to take her to authorities where she would give her account of what happened. It turns out that she was not alone on this expedition, yet she was the only one to make it out alive.
Like, first off, thinking about this one, like when I read this about the kayakers, I was like, first off, like kayaking is awesome. But if you started to think something was pacing you in the woods, like you'd be like, instantly. And then when it's like a teenage girl, a 17-year-old girl comes out of the woods covered in blood. Like, dude, that's a horror movie. That's not real life. That stuff doesn't happen. And these poor kayakers are like, I don't even know how. I don't even think I would have approached the beach. To be honest,
I would have been like paddle faster in Ukraine. Just
I'd be like, just turn around.
I would have been, yeah, you okay? Yeah, okay, bye. Have fun. Yeah. See ya.
Like, who is that? Let's paddle the hell out of here. Because this is, I don't know. I don't remember. I think they were on the river. But this this story takes place kind of around Marino. It's on the south side of Lake Baikal. Baikal Lake, which interesting little tidbit, is the deepest lake in the world.
No way.
By a stunning degree.
They don't even fuck that, boys. Okanagan Lake's way deeper than that. They probably don't even know Ogopogo either.
Well, Okanagan Lake's not on the map or on the graph yet because they haven't found the bottom.
There you go.
Yeah, they're still going.
They're still digging.
But if you look at the difference here, it's absolutely insane.
It's a massive lake. It's got more surface area on that lake than all the Great Lakes combined in Canada, US.
And the thing about this lake is it's home to over 2,000 unique species that on Earth that only live in this lake. They have freshwater seals and stuff and various other stuff that are only found around this area. And the town where this kind of happens is Marino. And this is, I kind of think it's like Russia Banff, right? It's a place, it's an outdoor mecca. There's Marino and Verdrino, which is, I think, just a little bit to the west of it, where it's like it's the hub of the outdoors for this area. For the Baikal mountain ranges and the Khamar Daban mountain ranges, there is you can find trails. There's trail websites for Russia, and there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trails in and through this area of different degrees of difficulties everywhere. Like it is an outdoor mecca.
Yeah, especially in the middle of summer, like early August, like peak season, tourists from everywhere. So
yeah, this area is especially up in the mountain range will be covered in snow from September to June. So usually in June into June, July, August, it's pretty clear weather, and it's not unheard of to get a little snow, as you do sometimes in mountain ranges, but it usually doesn't stick in those summer months. And that's, again, when most people flock to this area to enjoy the outdoors.
But it's such a big region too. Like if you ever been to Banff, or any of those big parks, even though there seems to be thousands of people there, you can easily get into parts where like you feel like you're the only person. Like
it's wild that people go missing in these fucking parks.
Buddy system. Talk about it all the time. But, sometimes even a buddy system, even if you got 6 buddies, it does, there's no guarantees. And that's kind of how this case file goes.
Might end up losing your tongue and your eyeballs.
Okay, so why are we talking about this case? We've talked about it's kind of like Dyatlov Pass, like a group of people on an expedition.
So in the summer of 1993, Ludmila had planned a hike with 6 of her students to
sorry, Andrew, to interject, but Ludmila will be referred to as Luda from now on. Which that's what her friends call her.
Oddly enough, that was her nickname.
Yeah. It's a great name.
So she had it before Ludacris.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got Lumita here. She was taking 6 of her students to the Khamar Daban mountain range. Now, Ludmita, who was a 40-year-old experienced hiking instructor and survivalist, labeled as a master by her peers and students. So this lady's a fucking Jedi of hiking, right?
We got fucking, what's the guy's name? Grills?
Yeah.
The Russians got Ludmita. Luda?
We got Grills and Survivor Man, and they got Ludmita.
Dude, this chick's got like knee-high socks. She's got fucking fanny packs. She's got Cliff Bars. Like she's got
like just above the knee khaki shorts.
Yeah, like she means business.
She's ready to roll.
So, but like it's not only that. Like she would do these hikes, sometimes twice a year at different mountain ranges. Like she was very experienced at guiding tours, taking students, doing the really long distance survival treks. She's done 2 weeks out at a time on hikes.
What you're saying, she's a master.
She's a master. And so much so that she had a daughter who was following in her footsteps and was now doing the same thing at 16 years old at this time.
Yeah. So
who was also considered to be a master at 16.
So she's got this group of students who have actually already been preparing for this big trip. So they've been practicing. They've been going out hiking and like preparing for this trip. She had one of the students, one of the 6 she was extremely close to, was a 23-year-old. His nickname was Sasha, Alexander Christian. He was basically like her fucking second child.
Yeah, they said mother-son relationship, like it was, they were very close. The one thing I was a little confused about when I was looking at the students, and I'm guessing that because a lot of this information comes from, Russia and Ukraine, and it's translated and some stuff's lost in translation. Part of me wondered if these were students because I at first thought of like students like from school. But the weird thing is I'm like, those age groups don't line up for like a high school or anything. You know what I mean? Summer too well. So then I kind of wondered if it was students of hiking.
That's what makes sense
outdoors, because it's the summer months, right? So it wasn't like they were school students or high school students, because a lot of people were like, this is bullshit. How could they all go to school together? And I'm like, well, they probably didn't. It was probably some sort of, like being taught outdoor survival, hiking. Like there were students of hers.
They're taking her class.
Yeah.
And what her class was as master hiking.
Yeah, she's got the name. People probably seek her out to be like, to train them.
Luda! Apparently people like from different countries would seek her out and book like to excursions with her and stuff is what I was reading. So anyways, other than Sasha, they've got 24-year-old Tatiana Filipenko, 19-year-old Denis Savachin, 17-year-old Valentina Uchenko, who we're going to talk about a little bit more. And then we got the youngest, 16-year-old Victoria Zalsova.
I thought we had two. What about, didn't we, wasn't there one more 15-year-old? Timur
Babanov. He's half Canadian.
Yeah. On August 2nd, 1993, the group of
Timur there, bro.
Timmers, hey? I'm pretty sure that's who they named the franchise after, isn't it?
Might be part of the story.
So on August 2nd, 1993, the group of 7 arrived at the mountain range in the town of Merino, excited for their journey into the mountains. The weather forecast promised them clear, sunny skies. Luda and her students were one of 3 hiking groups in the area, one of which was being led by Luda's daughter, Natalie, which Braden kind of mentioned. Their 2 groups had plans to meet up on August 5th when their hiking routes would cross paths.
Now, I kind of did some deeper reading into this, and Luda was taking her group on a little bit more of a advanced trail that kind of cut up and would kind of backtrack, and it would cross paths with Natalia, whose path was like, she was doing a little bit easier of a hike, but they were doing different ones. But a certain day they crossed paths, so it wasn't like what they were on the same trail or anything like they were on. Yeah.
So the first 2 days of the hike went better than expected. The group made extremely good time. They made it up a fucking very Russian sounding peak, pushing themselves hard. And
it's in like the translation to is it that like it's Repeater Peak? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it
like
sounds like it's
English translation.
Translator Peak.
Yeah, so that the when you translate it from Russian to English, the English translation is Repeater Peak, and that's because Baikal Lake is one of the most scientifically studied lakes in the world. And at one point in time, they almost had peak-to-peak relays, repeaters, all across and around Baikal Lake. So it wasn't weird to see that on most of the summits or near summits to have some sort of repeater and some sort of either old scientific outpost building or derelict building, nearby where research was done at some point in time.
Right. And there's actually 3 peaks. So there's the Khamar, Daban, Hanala. There's the Golets, Yaglani, and the Tritrins. There's like 3 peaks. 3 peaks around the lake, and there's like valleys in between.
Cool.
So it's like it's fucking awesome looking place.
That's a picture of the group at
one of the
Repeater Peak. And that was shot with a 1943 camera. The first ever camera made.
That was actually, you know what that was done? That was one of those stone cameras with a little fucking woodpecker on the inside of it, like in the Flintstones. And they just etched it into fucking stones. So anyways, everything's going well, right? They're making good time. They get to their peak, the Repeater Peak, and then they start making their descent, basically.
Turning back a descent off the other side to basically
meet
go
Natalia, right?
Natalia.
So everything's going as planned. They're making great time. However, around August 4th, the weather started to kind of turn on them, right? So as when they planned this trip, they knew the weather forecast and they planned it. It's in August. It's early August, right? Which, even though they are in the mountains, it's still actually like the lowest it's supposed to get is what, like 11?
It probably does freeze in the historic record, but yeah, usually like 6 or 10 at night and 15 or 20 in the day. It's summer.
And it's not a desert climate either, right? It's not going to get freezing at night. So anyways.
But it is a high mountain pass. Like it is 2,310 meters above sea level.
Dude, Zell's higher than that right now.
All right. You're not wrong.
But any kind of area that's like this is prone to, quick weather changes.
Yeah. Freak weather, but it is middle of summer. So if you're planning a trip, this is prime time. Like this is the best it's going to get weather-wise.
So let's say it does cool down a little bit. What was odd though when we talk about this random weather shift is it started like basically a fucking rainstorm took place, and what they describe as a Mongolian cyclone.
Mongolian cyclone.
Fucking sounds terrifying.
Why Mongolian?
Right? I don't know, because it's scary.
Just like just the name they have from history. We're going to name a devastating force.
It's a nomadic cyclone.
And
I don't know.
One of the weird things to me is like, because at this point in the story, when I was reading this stuff, in my head, I was thinking it's Frodo, and they're right. We should have taken the low road. There's a whisper on the wind, right? Like stuff's like crashing against the mountainside. The giants, they're throwing stones. Like it's large rolling hills. Like if you look at this is the actual view from Repeater Peak going south. Like
that looks like the Shire, man.
Yeah, like it looks like the Shire. Like they're not even in the shit yet. They're nowhere near the Misty Mountains, baby.
No, but yeah, so they've climbed the peak. So they've been going for days here. It's good. And then the weather turns on them. So yeah, if you're climbing peaks at like 2,300 meters, you're kind of in the Alpines. So there's not many trees, but down the hill, there is a forest. Like it is a forest, like as you descend. But yeah, so the weather picks up, the Mongolian cyclone. What happens next?
So at this point, the hikers' supplies and themselves are just completely fucking soaked, right? Because it's piss and rain.
Drenched.
They got all this added weight. And since the hikers at this point in time are exhausted, Luda decided to camp out hastily in an exposed location despite there being tree cover not far away. And I think we should kind of talk about that a little bit.
So they were, from reports, at their camp location, where they set up their camp, they were 4 kilometers from the edge of the forest.
Yeah.
Right. So 4 kilometers is not far. In the night using maps and stuff, maybe you're not sure if the weather's turning bad. You're like, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad. However, the interesting thing for me is that 30 minutes back in the opposite direction was a research hut that people sign.
Yeah, it looks terrifying.
People go in there and sign.
I do not blame them for not wanting to go in there. That's terrifying.
When you say 30 minutes, is that back up the hill then? Is that like a peak station?
Yes, 30 minutes back up by the repeater.
Right.
Was
so uphill.
This uphill is this.
So
it's a covered
shelter
building.
Yeah, it's a
shelter.
It's a shelter for the fast weather changes of the mountain. But also 4 kilometers. Yeah, it's not that far. At first, when I read that, I was like, well, 4 kilometers in the woods can actually be an insane trek. But and when you look at that, you're like, it's a grass hill. Like you should be able to march down that pretty easy.
You got gravity on your side, baby. Just one foot in front of the other.
So they've chosen, instead of going into a shelter, they go into this big open area that's completely exposed to the elements. They can't build a fire, right? And it was kind of confusing at first because you have this fucking, master tracker.
Master tracker.
Let's just
call it master tracker.
Right? Basically like leading this crew, she's in charge of everybody, and putting them in what seems to be like the worst possible fucking location. And I was like racking my brain. And then I thought like maybe this is purposeful. Like maybe she's trying to like make a point out of roughing it. Like this is what you might run into at some point, right? And you might have to deal with these elements, and you might have to make the best of it. That's the only thing I could think of.
That's a really good point. I never thought of that, because when you look at the terrain, when you look at the pictures of the area, again, the one thing that's striking is it doesn't seem that difficult to terrain. When you're looking, you're like, that's surprisingly undifficult. And again, I thought the same thing. I was like, listen, I am not a master tracker. I am nowhere near the levels of Luda and Rick Dwyer. But the thing is that, I know, and especially if you're camping, like any kind of survival skills is like, and you have to, you're stuck and you have to make shelter, or you want to find somewhere to break the wind. You want a windbreak. You want to be out of the elements a little bit, right? You're looking for tree cover. You're looking for big rocks to, so you can, put stuff like just to break the elements, basically.
Well, so either for training purposes, or they are in the middle of the Mongolian hurricane, the wind and rain, and probably at nighttime, there's some accounts that say snow. So, and now we don't.
I bet it was sleeting.
Definitely.
Like that wouldn't surprise me if it was, especially if it's like low. Like think about like the connector, right? When those low clouds blow in, it's also like sleeting rain. Like it'd be hard to see, hard to navigate.
Yeah. So hard to navigate maybe, or because we don't really know, and we're going to get to it, but we don't know the condition of the hikers at the time, really.
Well, but we kind of like, if let's say if we're going to take the source material, right? If we're where we're getting the source material from, and if we're trusting it at this point in time, everything's fucking hunky dory. Everything's going great,
except for the storm.
Well, other than the storm and then being soaking wet, but other than that, everything's good. Nobody's injured, right? Everybody's well fed, right? And like it says in her report, it says like even though they've been unable to build a fire, they're still in good spirits. Like they remain in good spirits.
Yeah, and they ate, like from reports, they ate dinner and they ate breakfast before departing.
Yeah, so the report is just, so it's from our girl, right?
Valentina.
Yeah.
Valentina. The only account of this thing, and she only gave it once, is what we're going through right now. So like she gives the account of the trips. So that's pretty much what we're going off of. But yeah, it seems like everything, except for the weather, the unpredicted weather, is okay. So yeah, they're stuck. They decide to camp for whatever reason in a wide open mountain slope when they could have trekked. You would think they could have trekked the 4K down or the half an hour back up to the shelter.
Absolutely. Like unless somebody was injured, something like that, but we have no mention of that.
No mention.
Right?
No.
Good. So like Braden said, we know that they weren't able to build a fire, but in the morning they were successful. They had breakfast. So they had their breakfast and then they headed out for the day. They planned to meet up with Natalia and expected to be able to do so given how quickly they had made their descent down the mountain previously, right? So later that day, Natalia and her group made it to the meeting spot.
Yeah, they hang around for a while too. They wait, but Natalia, being also a master tracker, she goes, you know what? They might have hit inclement weather. It was bad last night. We're not waiting. The plan is to wait X amount of time, and we're just going to push on our hike, and we'll see them at the end. So they just continue on the hike like nothing. There's no problems, right? Because this was the part of the plan. Like if in case these things happen, and I'm sure they do with master trackers, you just push on, right? It's nothing to be concerned of if you're a couple hours behind, but you don't want to delay your whole expedition, right? People paid for flights or car rides, and have other plans to be there to make their scheduled times, right? So it's like you can't just
especially because
hold up everything.
You're not going to hold up because this is, as far as hiking goes, pretty accessible terrain.
Well, I thought this was considered a rank 4. So now don't fucking be.
I heard rank 3. So rank 3 is intermediate hiking.
Oh, okay. So I read rank 4, which was like
there are decent. A couple.
I'm sure there is some rank 4, but I think the whole area is because it's like such a national park. But
it's there's a site called like Wikiloc where you can get trails and stuff in the area. And this particular one, because you can kind of look at the hike they did. But it's not all on there. So it's like part of their hike is expert, but part of it's intermediate and part of it's beginner.
Well, right? You got this is an accomplishment for these people. These are people, they trained for this, right? Like I can't imagine it being a fucking...
It's not easy.
Yeah. Just a little jaunt
they do.
The hard part of the hike would be the extended stay. That would be the hard part. Carrying your food.
True. Yeah.
Oh, I think Braden's frozen.
Can you screenshot that? Looks amazing. Let me tell you something, brother.
Yeah, Braden's frozen. So we're going to take a short break, grab a beer, fix up these tech issues, and we'll be right back.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that, unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
We got him back.
We're back. Absolute technical difficulties. Internet went down for some reason. I have no idea. It's never happened here before.
Hey, listen, did you check the forecast? Mongolian cyclone?
Could have happened.
Can we rule it out, boys?
The weather is wild on the island there.
Yeah, it is. It's not bad. It's not bad though. I've been sitting here in my studio before recording sometimes, and there's just like, Mongolian
fucking cyclones.
hurricane going on outside. And I'm like, well, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Way she goes, bud.
Trees are coming down.
It's the way of the island.
Way of the island. Way of the road, bubs.
Yep.
All right. Where were we? So where did I get cut off?
The daughter didn't wait for the mom. The groups did not meet at the merge point. She left.
Yeah.
So now we kind of got it. So basically, they didn't meet at the meeting point. Daughter left. And now we take back to where Zell started. This young girl was found by these kayakers. And now we get her story of what happened that morning after breakfast.
Well, and at this point too, people know now because when Valentina is found, they've now missed their next check-in as well, right? So it's like
something's wrong.
The other groups and people are like, all right, something's amiss.
These guys,
they're not coming to.
They must have ran out of trail mix by now. Like there's a problem.
Yeah.
They've probably even eaten all the raisins. Like we're getting dire straits here.
Like we said, they get her to the authorities and bring her down the mountain, and this girl is in just utter shock. And the wild thing is that police get her to give them an account one time. That's it. That's all the account. She's since now she's opened up about it in some interviews, but she doesn't
like talking about
it. She doesn't like talking about it. She doesn't talk about it publicly. So everything we have to go on from what happened from the morning of, and she ends up by the lake, is by the single account by the police and search and rescuers' firsthand accounts. That's it.
So this is straight from Valentina. So now we know that they had breakfast. So the group sets down. They set down from their little campsite where they had breakfast. And within minutes of leaving their spot, disaster strikes. Sasha, who was at the back of the group, began screaming, like fucking blood-curdling screaming. Okay? Everybody turned around to see him, and he had blood gushing from his fucking eyes and his ears.
Yeah, every orifice, he's just bleeding and screaming.
And then he falls to the ground and starts fucking convulsing and fucking foam frothing, just twitching down on the ground. Like
he starts seizing. And again, if anyone's ever seen someone violently seize, like that's hard enough as it is to see someone having a seizure, and you put them in this spot with the blood and everything. This is horrendous. This is worst case scenario.
So he just pops.
Bleeding from your fucking eyes and your ears. That's pretty much as
he
fucked
pops
up as
for seemingly no reason.
Well, and like this one was really tough for me. Like I don't want to get too much into fucking theories and shit like that yet, but like, you know, a seizure, a tonic-clonic seizure, which sounds like what he might be having with convulsing full body. Like I deal with that. That's something that I see on a regular basis. Yeah, it's hard to watch, but you've seen it. Throwing a little bit of fucking blood coming from the eyes and the ears. Like I've seen blood coming from ears, people with like severe fucking infections on their deathbed, obviously trauma and stuff like that. I've never seen anybody actually bleeding from their eyes that haven't had some sort of like trauma. Like you see like subconjunctival hemorrhaging, which usually is just like bloodshot eyes, but actually fucking blood coming from the eyes. Like,
That's horror movie shit.
No, dude, that's like some stigmata or whatever. Like that's fucked up, man. I've never, like we'll get into that a little bit, but like this dude is bleeding from his eyes, and we got to remember too, this is Luda's fucking, her adopted son, basically.
Her son, yeah. Like this is someone she cares a lot about and has known a long time, a lot of his life.
So she instantly runs to him and starts cradling him as he's fucking convulsing on the ground. And
my God.
She's hysterically fucking screaming now too. Like, could you imagine the scene?
As like it would be, like, because it's like you have your guide here who's supposed to be, your rock in these situations, and she has just come apart and you're like, you're in a medical emergency. Like the weight of that would fall on you so quickly about how just hopeless you are in this moment, because you are so far from help, so far.
You're fucked.
And you desperately need it right now.
You're fucked. Basically fucked. So what happens is Luda basically tells them, like, you guys need to start, like, continue the descent. You need to find help. And I'm staying there with him, right? At this point in time, she's also, like, she's a little bit irrational. You can't blame her, right? She's dealing with some serious trauma. So they head down the hill. And again, within fucking minutes, they hear her start screaming. And they're like, okay, this is different. This doesn't sound like the same sorrow-filled screams that she's having before. So they beeline it back to the camp. And the exact same fucking thing is happening to Luda.
Like contagious. Like whatever happened to him.
Yeah. She's bleeding from orifices. She's one of the things that was a little different is that rather than seizing right away, she was pulling off her clothes. Like she was pulling her clothes off, screaming as if they were affecting her.
Basically like strangling her. She was ripping them off. She couldn't get them off fast enough.
She was clutching her neck, pulling everything, kicking shoes off, like in a fit of like, we don't know what, but was just kicking and screaming and bleeding and foaming.
Oh my God.
So Tatiana was the first person who got to Luda, and she was the next to collapse, grabbing at her throat as though she couldn't breathe. She slowly crawled over to the nearby rock, stared at it like she was fucking like almost like hypnotized by this rock, and then out of nowhere started bashing her head up against this fucking rock like countless times. Just fucking bang, 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 and then fucking collapsed.
Like seemed purposeful,
she
or like
hit her head until she.
Oh, absolutely purposeful.
Yeah, headbutted a rock until she went limp.
Because whatever's happening to her drove her to just pummel her head into a rock.
So now Victoria and Tamar both ran while Dennis hid behind a rock. Valentina, stood unable to move, having just watched three of her closest friends seemingly die within only a few minutes.
I couldn't even imagine, because there would be this utter like want from you to go and help, but then this realization so quickly that like, why is this happening to everyone? Like this is
not even within minutes. You're sitting there being like, what the fuck is happening?
People are just dropping.
What the fuck? Like, could you imagine that? Like, this is fucking complete and utter fucking chaos. Like that's way too much to even wrap your fucking head around.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking wild, man. I can't fathom that shit.
So now we're down, what, 1, 2, 3.
We're down three
already.
In a matter of minutes.
So then we got Victoria and Timur, who both ran, and we got Dennis that's hiding.
Timur.
Valia's fucking standing there in complete and utter fucking shock. So now both Victoria and Timur collapsed while running and died in a similar fashion. Frothing at the mouth.
So they freak out.
Tearing at their throats, ripping off their clothes. Like, fucking, it's basically like it's like a
3, 4, 5, just like that.
Gone. So now there's only two left. Valentina and Dennis. They both ran to each other and hurried away from the site, like shielding themselves from the sight of their fucking their friends' corpses, basically.
Yeah, from like what I read and understand, it's like they're huddling each other, like running, like also like in fear and like we need to go.
Oh, so there's 2 get away, 2 out of 7.
So 2 of them get away for now. But soon after that, Dennis collapses and starts convulsing as well.
Let me guess, same way.
Same way.
Yeah, there was a one thing weird that happened with Dennis is that briefly Valentina tries to help him and he lashes out at her and bites her.
Bites her hand, yeah.
Bites her hand like hard, breaks skin, and then proceeds to just be convulsing, pulling off clothes, tearing at himself. And Valentina just, at this point, and understandably, she just runs. Like it's fight or flight, and it's flight time, baby. Like
just whatever she has on her back.
Yeah, like you've seen the amount of fear being in the middle of the woods. You don't know. You've just lost all your closest friends, and you would seemingly be like, "Well, I'm next." Like this just happened to everyone.
So
I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine the terror.
Wild to me, she gets far enough away. She gets under some tree cover, and believe it or not, she's able to actually fucking get some sleep, which I don't know how.
Well, she's probably a little couldn't too at this point. Couldn't imagine she's...
I mean, I think she kind of has an idea where she is because the next thing she does is she realizes that she's completely out of food. And then she fucking backtracks to the fucking site of like mass chaos.
So she gets away. She makes it to the tree line. She realizes she's by herself. She's
got no food.
Got no food. She can't go on. So she sets up a quick camp for the night.
Pretty much. She sets up a camp for the night, but she realizes she's got no food and she has inadequate supplies to get through the rest of this fucking trek on her own. So she has to go back.
What a survival move. What a survival move. You're just like, if I keep going, it's certain death at this point. I don't know where I am. I'm lost. I need supplies. I have to go back to the site where all of my friends spontaneously died.
Okay, well, in the account I read, she does go back, but she does sleep first. Like she has a full night.
Yes.
She camps out in the woods.
Okay. Yeah. So
she sleeps. Then she realizes, okay, if I'm going to fucking survive this, I need to go back and get some more supplies.
Because now we're on the 5th now. The 3rd was a storm. They camp in the August
2nd, 3rd, 4th. This is probably the
3rd
day
was
of
a
the
storm.
5th.
They camp out in the woods or out in the plains on the hillside.
Yeah.
On the 4th
is they presumably
that's the shit hits the fan day.
Yeah. So she grabs her supplies and then we have her basically following power lines down the mountains for 4 days, hoping she would end up fucking running into somebody basically.
So 4th is all the shit happened. She spends the 4th night in the woods by herself. She grabs the stuff on the 5th and she spends 4 days on her own trekking out of there.
And on the 4th day is when she ends up running into the fucking Ukrainian
water tourists.
Water tourists. Yeah. Oddly enough, too, which would be the most disheartening thing of this whole situation, is she stumbles upon a fucking town. Right? Could you imagine the relief you'd have? Like you're completely survival mode. You thought you were gonna die, and you run into a town. You're like, holy fuck! Like I'm safe. Everything's good. And she gets down there, and it's a complete fuck. Like it's been abandoned.
Yeah,
it's a ghost town. There's nobody there. Yeah. There's no food. There's no supplies. Just empty buildings, basically.
Just an empty little
on the
village.
way down the power line, she stumbles across a ghost town. Nothing there. Man. And then you just got to keep on trucking.
Ghost trails and ghost towns, man. We watched that show.
Yeah, it's one of the accounts I read. It was like a tiny little village.
So that's the thing for me is where I'm like, she must have been lost if she didn't get back to the starting point, right?
No. She basically just followed these power lines down the fucking mountain. Yeah.
Her idea was if I head down, I know down is towards
something,
Baikal Lake and there's stuff down there. And these power lines eventually will have to lead to a building. They have to, right? And so I'm just going to follow them.
Brings me back to fucking Yuba County. That the comment not heading down. Like fucking seems like that's just what you got to do in these situations. You got to head downhill, boys. Down. You just got to head. That's why we get to hear this fucking account, because she head downhill.
So she is picked up. She's discovered by the water tourists on August 10th, I believe. So she's out there for that long. They bring her into the authorities. She gives her only statement, and that's what we go on. And then it's seemingly, she's 17? She's not that much older than us. today, right? So for like back then, so 93, she's like what, 12 years older than us?
Yeah.
So she's a middle-aged lady now. She's probably just been like traumatized her whole life from this.
Oh, dude, she did everything short of changing her name, basically. She moved as far away as she fucking could. She like buried the story, wants nothing to do with it. Doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't want to do interviews, nothing. And which, can you blame her?
No, not
No.
one bit.
And so it took about a week for authorities to gather, search and rescue.
That seems like
they have a different word for it. It took a week for them to get back on the mountain. There's varying accounts on why.
Seems like a long time.
We'll get into some of those in the theories.
Especially considering, like, so you get the story from Valentina, but you've also got fucking how many different family members being like, what the fuck? Like, we need to find our family. Like, each one of these people have families that you got to imagine are fucking banging on doors being like, listen, like, we need to know what happened to them. We need to get up there. We need to find them now.
Yeah.
Fucking bizarre.
It is weird that it took so long. But nevertheless, search and rescues goes up there and, you know, they locate the bodies as Valentina reports. You know, by the time they get up there, they said the bodies were almost like perfectly mummified, missing
Mummified?
eyes and tongue. Yeah, it was a lot of the reports, and I wasn't sure if it was just getting lost, like missed in translation.
I think that's missing. From what I understand, they were like in decent stages of decomposition.
If these motherfuckers are mummified, this mystery just got a lot more intense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you got fucking Mum Ra coming out and just attacking people.
Yeah,
but it
so
seemed like their eyes were picked
they're-
out. Like they had been hit by scavengers. They've been out of
tongues and eyes, all soft tissue type stuff picked off.
Luda is laying on top of
Sasha.
Sasha, sorry. And, you know, they're all in states of undress. Shoes are off. Some are just in their underwear. Some are, you know, just in, you know, their long underwear and stuff strewn out.
Which we can kind of backtrack to, which can be explained by, you know, paradoxical hypothermia. If you think these people were suffering from hypothermia, which I do not think they were suffering from hypothermia.
Well,
the count
the authorities...
The coroner,
the authorities would disagree with you because the search and rescue, when they get brought in, they do a quick turnaround on this thing, man. They get the bodies and they just say, boom, paradoxical hypothermia.
heart attack.
Case closed, baby.
One lady had a heart attack.
And, you know, upon further questioning about like, well, what about the mass hysteria? Case closed. That's what they said.
Okay, well,
right?
let's go with that first theory of hypothermia. So you had spent the night soaked, you know, out in a mountain pass. It would be cold, but I mean, it's not that cold, and they have probably dry sleeping bags and a waterproof bag. Like their backpack would be more or less waterproof. They have a tent, so it seems they were warm enough to get up and make breakfast.
And they did successfully start a fire. Like they cooked their breakfast over a fucking fire.
And the other thing that's interesting that authorities pointed to that they said they had hypothermia is they said, well, they had hypothermia because they didn't dress for the conditions. And I'm like, because they had dry, warmer clothes, so like bigger jackets and stuff, still dry in their packs. And they're like, yeah, they didn't go to put them on because they were already suffering the effects of hypothermia.
No way.
And I'm like, or it wasn't that fucking cold out.
Yeah, no, that
right?
doesn't
Like
make
it wasn't
sense.
that cold out. And if everyone knows, like, okay, so if I go for a hike right now, it's cold. If I step outside and go, ooh, what should I wear? If I put on what I think I should wear when I'm just standing, and then I go for a hike, I am going to be wildly overdressed.
Absolutely.
Wildly. So I think what happened is these people were geared up, ready to go, full breakfast, and they had worn a little bit lighter clothes than you would normally because they knew they were just about to start a hike and they're going to heat up really fast. And it obviously wasn't cold enough for them to concern themselves with putting on any colder gear.
Middle of summer. Even though there was a storm, it's probably below average temperature for the time of year. It's not. If this is mid-January, they're frozen. Boom. Okay, I got you. But
when I was looking at weather and stuff, it's not uncommon for temperatures to just dip below freezing once in a while. But even that, like, you know, we're talking about one below, like, you're not fucking dying.
Unless you're naked,
right? You're not,
you know.
yeah, and you're just laying there.
Yeah. No, and these, by all accounts, these are experienced fucking hikers. They've been training for this. They've been preparing for it.
They knew exactly where they're going. They had studied the weather.
This is 1993. Like they have adequate equipment. They're prepared. They can do this. They might have shitty cameras, but I'm sure they have adequate hiking gear.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the theory. It seems just like a quick cover up, like a quick cover
seems
theory.
Lazy
theory.
It seems lazy because hypothermia only checks a couple of the boxes, man.
What about the foam?
What about the fucking bleeding? What about the headbutt and the fucking rock?
What about the foaming mouth and shit?
Do you guys want to get into the bleeding? Because I kind of focused in a little bit. Like I got tunnel vision on the bleeding a little bit because that's something that I've never
Let's
really
do it because the hypothermia, sure.
I hate it. I get rid of it.
A couple of the boxes, but we're missing a big piece of the puzzle here.
I hate it. So this really got me thinking because a lot of things we've touched on in the past has to do with, you know, weapons, biological weapons that we've talked about, possibly like, you know, with Lyme disease and shit like that. So potentially maybe they were experimenting with different biological weapons at some point. Maybe they just due to the storm, maybe something brought, you know, either it was used on them, controlled. Like, hey, you know what? There's a group of people out here. They're in the woods. Nobody's going to fucking know that, you know, what happened to them. Let's test it on them. So potentially maybe the KGB or whatever are testing some type of biological weapons on them. And maybe they found a way to weaponize, you know, a virus, and the only one that kind of came close for me was the Lassa fever, which is basically known as a Lassa hemorrhagic fever. And it's interesting because you think one of these people didn't deal with any of the symptoms, Valentina. And many of the people who do get infected with this virus do not develop symptoms. Okay? But when symptoms do occur, fever, weakness, headaches, vomiting, muscle pains, less commonly bleeding from the mouth and eyes, usually coming from the gastrointestinal tract. Okay. And this is something that can be, it comes from the urine and feces of an infected mouse. But this kind of stuff, like this can be inhaled. So this could be weaponized. You can inhale this virus.
See, and that's on your point there. One of the theories, if you look into, you have to go Google Translate some Russian articles and Russian web pages based on this event, is that many believe because of the fall of the Soviet Union, a lot of their biological and chemical weapons went missing.
Well,
and one of the things that they said is like, they believe that the search parties and everyone were held back and authorities held back for a week to allow whatever was released to disperse. Wow. Whatever airborne thing was dropped to disperse. And that they figured that a week would give it enough time to disperse.
Now,
so they would have to target just that specific group because there would have been hundreds of people in this park then.
That's the other thing. This is a popular area. Like this is, again, outdoor mecca. The day before, other people were on that trail.
And you have the whole vast wilderness of Siberia to test.
But maybe you want to test it on people.
I know, but...
No. But maybe they didn't, though. What Andrew said sparked something in me. What if they tested it somewhere else and the Mongolian
boys
pulled it in?
Oh.
Well, and
right, like,
and the biological fucking weaponry, that's a little bit like I'm stretching here, but I was just kind of trying to find out what could cause these symptoms. But you want to know what else can fucking cause these symptoms? A fucking nerve agent.
Oh,
so like the frothing in the mouth, convulsing, those strongly match the effects of a fucking of a nerve agent. Also, it matches the autopsy results. Since contact with a nerve agent can cause respiratory distress, the bruising of the lungs can be a sign of death by nerve gas, which some of them did have. Cardiac arrest also matches, I think it was Luda who died from cardiac arrest. Now, apparently, in 1993, the Soviets created a particularly strong fucking nerve gas. It's called Novichok gases.
Well, they created it up until 93 that we know of. So they've been creating it for a while, but 93 was the last year of production, I guess. That's what they say.
And supposedly, Novichok agents were reportedly tested in areas near the Khamar Daban region.
On what? On vegetation, or they don't really know?
Random groups of hikers, maybe.
Perhaps random groups of hikers. You sprinkling on them when they're sleeping.
So, like, those are the two things that I could find that I could, like, with the symptoms that Valentina explained. Those are the two things that I could kind of jump to. I know.
Well, that it makes sense because that the Novichok gas is like, so what, you had the VX gas, right? Deadly nerve agent, and then sarin gas, super deadly as well. And this gas is like 10 and 20 times more deadly, respectively, than both of those super deadly fucking
which would
gases.
explain the time frame, like how quick
fast
these fucking shit went south, right?
Now, wasn't that too, like, so even if, so say they tested that there, could that agent, because I don't know anything about these agents, I don't know how they operate, do they aerosolize or whatever from like a liquid form? So what if they were settled somewhere on the mountain, like in the stream? What if you scooped it and drank it?
Oh, I never thought about that.
Potential. Well, I know, like, can't nerve agents, can't they last? Like, they settle on the ground and last for fucking ever.
That's what I mean. I don't really know enough about like the composition of them, but I'd imagine if you had like a polluted source and you had.
But wouldn't you think you would have more reports of this though? Like, that's my thing is like, again, this is
but maybe that's the cyclone that blew that shit in, right?
Well, that, or we talked about it a little bit. So they had this polluted source. And it took a week for them to go looking for it. So in that 1 week, you either let it just dilute out of there, or you go up and you scoop up, or you go test and make sure it's not there, so there's no suspicion. Just hypothetically.
Now, how does Valentina not suffer the effects?
That's the
She
major mystery.
She ate the same dinner. She ate the same breakfast.
Yeah, I don't think it's the one thing that I could think of, like, if we want to get on food, like possibly like poison from food or contaminated food, like maybe, because I know Ludo, she was big into foraging, right? So maybe she did go out and forage. Like, I know, like, what was it, the golden root, whatever you get rhodiola from? Apparently they were found with tons of that. So she was foraging for that. Maybe they forage something with some type of fucking bacteria or something on it, right?
I'm not calling anyone, like, if you're getting called the master tracker, you're not picking up random mushrooms. Like, listen.
Well, I know, but listen.
I know nothing. I know nothing, and because of that, I don't touch any mushroom in the
what
woods.
if it's growing some type of fucking bacteria or something on it that she doesn't recognize?
Again, though, the thing for me with the food and the eating, stuff tied to that, because I've read a lot of things about people thinking that, maybe tied to something to eat, but they all ate the same stuff.
Well,
Valentina, Zell, what do you got?
Well, I'm just saying, so yes, they all ate the same stuff.
Except for Valentina, maybe.
Except for Valentina. Maybe, or like, I didn't quite finish with the water. Maybe everyone filled up their canister at this one stream and she still had half and she's like, I'll get the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
So mushrooms, like, eat some fucking.
Hey, I will say, sorry to interrupt, Zell, but oddly enough, man, when our friend of a friend picks up people who overdose on fucking mushrooms, like psilocybin. One of the fucking major things that I always hear from people is looks like people's eyes are bleeding. Like, that is a fucking super common experience for people who are massively tripping on fucking mushrooms.
You would have to be, I'm saying, like 100 times the regular dose or something crazy.
Well, but people don't call a fucking ambulance when they're having a good fucking trip. Usually when they've had a little bit too much and they're going fucking nuts. And when that happens, I've heard that I don't know how many different fucking times.
Your eyes bleed from mushrooms.
Eyes bleed. Seriously, I'm telling you, I'm going to Google it because I've heard that I don't know how many different times.
Not that their eyes are actually bleeding, but they perceive other people's eyes as bleeding.
Yes, like that's.
Well, like
I've heard that I don't know how many times.
Like bleeding, to me, would be like leaking, or like do they turn all red?
I mean, somebody, like, even I've been in the back and they've been like, your eyes are bleeding. And I'm like, no, you're high as fuck.
Oh, like the person high on mushrooms.
Yeah, the person is perceiving it.
No, they're tripping balls. And that's when and I've heard that several times.
I thought you meant like on an extreme overdose of mushrooms, people's eyes bleed.
No,
and I was like, I never fucking heard that.
I've never seen anyone bleeding from the eyes other than someone that's had like trauma.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you're hallucinating that profoundly, like, people could look like they have fucking horns in their head, their eyes, like any.
But what I'm saying is
shit.
I've heard that multiple times.
Right. So
right? Like it's not just a one-off thing. Like I know people have common themes to their trips. Like people will see the same things. That's something that I've heard from like different people completely unrelated, other than the fact that they're on a bad trip of mushrooms.
So perhaps one of the theories is
again,
Luda.
their eyes don't bleed. If you do too many mushrooms, your eyes don't bleed.
That's not what I'm saying.
You're so
I'm sorry
high.
if I
Yeah,
sounded-
people are confused in the chat.
Okay.
Your eyes don't bleed, but because you're so high, you are thinking that
people's eyes
everyone
are
you're
bleeding.
looking at eyes are bleeding. It's not your eyes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't account for, the evidence of her friend headbutting a rock, which they found.
Well, maybe, so the theory is then Luda, perhaps when like she's gathering mushrooms, she got a little lazy because there's a lot of mushrooms that look almost identical and one kills you and one gives you a good time. Right. So if you don't inspect, go inspect the gills underneath and you know exactly what you're looking for.
What I don't understand though is if they did have, like, I was confused because the fucking one chick, I forget her name, the one woman, Tatiana, who bashed her fucking head in the rock, her cause of death would be blunt force trauma and not fucking hypothermia. And that was never reported in the autopsy.
Yeah, but maybe let's just say maybe she didn't headbutt herself to death. She headbutted herself unconscious and then died from exposure.
I don't know
Right?
That one were like bashing the head because that's the only one who did it. Everyone else had the same, like the symptoms of like their eyes were bleeding, the vomiting,
Well,
the
she
foam.
got bit. The one guy bit her.
Yeah.
A nip on the hand is not the same as bashing your head into.
Broke.
I'm saying it's not the same as bashing your head into the rock.
But it's a violent outburst.
Violent outburst against
right? It's
someone.
like a random violent outburst.
So perhaps a mushroom, perhaps some tainted water, perhaps what else?
Well, one thing we talked about, what about, some sort of low frequency sound?
Infrasound.
Dude, infrasound can kill.
Well, we talked about this in Diet Self Pass, right? That's the first time I learned about infrasound.
Right. Some of these, and this one kind of lines up. So like basically if you're getting high winds off the mountain, there's a chance that, it's producing some sort of infrasound. And infrasound can, make you confused, not thinking straight.
Yep.
And if this cyclone's approaching with heavy winds, it kind of makes you think that, okay, well, then some of those weird things that she was doing, like when Luda was just like, let's just camp out in the middle of right in the middle of an exposed area. It's maybe because she wasn't thinking straight, right? Maybe she was starting to get the effects of this infrasound of the wind humming off the hillside.
Well, and let's just be clear for people who don't know, infrasound is sound below human audibility. So you cannot hear it. It is below your audible sense. But in high enough pressures, like high enough like volume, even though you can't hear it, like something that generates a lot of frequency, like you're getting like nervous system damage, disorientation, probably make you shit yourself. Like it had, vomiting, like, and maybe to the point of like sending you manic, like you're going to fucking bash your head into the wall or something.
Well, it's weird because it's the infrasound. It's the 7 hertz, right? And from what I understand, it's the same frequency that your organs are emitting, that exact same sound frequency. And that's what drives you fucking insane.
Well, I mean,
and it get enough to like cause your fucking organs to burst, apparently.
Yeah.
Or
So
rupture.
yeah. So I guess you would have to like find out like like everything has a resonant frequency. Like if you find it and you haven't apply enough energy, you can like shatter a glass, or in this case, your bowels. But like, yeah, anything under, like humans don't really hear under like 40 hertz. So like depending on whatever this sound is, whatever this energy is, it could contain 7 hertz, 8 hertz, 9, 10, 11, like a whole like spectrum of hertz. And each one of those frequencies maybe, could affect the human body. So what could cause it? We've talked about like a wind, right? Like a wind through
What about
rocks.
Mongolian cyclones?
Mongolian cyclone? If anything
that?
can cause infrasound to kill, I'd say Mongolian cyclone.
Absolutely.
There's got to be a boxer called the Mongolian cyclone.
If not, I want to.
Come on, get on it.
If you found you got some Mongolian in you on your 23andMe, Time to start boxing.
If you're one of the
your
3%
name.
of people on Earth who have Genghis Khan DNA, you can use the Mongolian Mongolian cyclone as your alias. But so infrasound, that's a cool one.
Now, I mean, we can even get into the realm of paranormal. Like, could this be some sort of
Baba
malevolent
Yaga?
spirit,
Baba Yaga.
or something that's roaming these hills, right? That these people unknowingly disturbed.
By foraging too much. I understand. Like if you take too much from the land, you can get cursed.
Explain
right?
this curse.
Well, that's like the golden root, the rhodiola. If you take too much of it, the indigenous tribes of this area are said that you will get cursed.
Cursed with death.
With Mongolian cyclones, man. How else do you think you would bring that on? And maybe Valentina was the one that didn't take any.
Oh, they spared her.
They spared her.
Yeah,
to tell the
it is
tale.
because I mean, when you listen to this account, it does give you a feel of like demonic presence. It does. Like when you hear it, you're like, one of the first things I thought, I was like, has anyone called the Winchesters?
Yeah,
Sam Dean, you there?
Yeah,
somebody needs to exercise
have they
these
looked into
demons.
this?
Someone call him back for season 22.
Right, because you when you look at this, like the thing, it's like the sudden onset, you know, kind of the violent latching out, and like honestly, by all accounts, a violent death, like a violent,
Not good.
and
Awful.
not good death, awful. I feel terrible for these people, but it does seem, you know, part of me was wondering if it was some sort of curse of the land or something that these people unknowingly or unwittingly unleashed on themselves.
Yeah, they would have, like you said, this is a very popular area, so they would have had to do something. They would have had to like desecrate the land or something. They had to like do something to elicit this, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because, and it's just, again, I start to look at the similarities of this one, of this and Dyatlov Pass, and I'm like, man, like, you know, you have these people seemingly just go wild, and this is.
It's crazy thing though. It's like with the Dyatlov Pass, you do have those evidence of like blunt force trauma, so you can like, you know, maybe it was an avalanche, something like that. Like here, you don't have anything. You have like bizarre. One of the really weird things in the autopsy is the lack of protein in their blood.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
They did say that too. They're like, a lack of protein would have led to the deterioration. I was like, but they're only gone for like a few days. Like, how much protein could you be lacking at this point?
And they ate
They were
well.
eating good.
They ate well, like that, which is super bizarre. Like that was really weird. Above my pay grade as to speculate what could have caused that. Maybe that could be effective, some type of chemical weaponry.
Yeah.
Or
like
invasion or
something. It just attacks the body, like destroys the protein count or whatever.
Absolutely, right? Like that's. But again, that's
Those gases are so toxic. Like what? Like, do they even know exactly how many like different bodily systems it affects? Like,
No, and the other thing that, you know, I wanted to touch on in this one is because we touched on Dyatlov Pass, is that, you know, Dyatlov Pass was kind of similar where they kind of left themselves out in the open, and we kind of theorized on that one is that perhaps because they wanted to see something coming, if there was something coming, and the parallels of this is that they, you know, stayed out in the open, but the difference is that we have a survivor. So there is some talk online about, you know, potential Sasquatch or something coming, but
Really?
it doesn't make sense at all.
Oh.
It doesn't make sense that even like a spirit or a curse, and so they wanted to be able to see something coming because Valentina would say that. So
What about
any kind of
body snatcher? And it's no longer
or
Valentina.
anything like.
Oh,
but I'm like, if that was the reason if that was the reason why they stayed out in the open, like it doesn't make sense to me. So I wanted to rule that
when
out.
I first read the first like little summary of the case, I was like, El Nasty, 100%.
Yeah.
It's stalking him. They don't want to go in the woods because that's where he is. They got to stay on this mountain slope. Next thing you know, he's chasing them. He's bashing their head off rocks, and this one girl gets away. That's initially what I thought, but yes, it just, after reading into it, it doesn't seem like a
it doesn't fit.
cryptid
But
case.
like a body snatcher would give you this fabricated story that Valentina gave you, right?
If you go that
Like,
way,
that makes sense.
It's
right?
not her anymore.
and she,
Exactly. That's why you're getting this weird story. Whereas it makes sense why they're hiding out in the open, right? Like,
Just make it seem so.
ooh, that gave me chills.
yeah, dude.
And
Like,
then-
it's no,
Ooh,
that's
I
not Valentina anymore.
She
boys.
gives a brief description of the details, never to speak of it again.
Well, and she's quiet. She's kind of detached, right? Like she's just because she's not a person anymore.
I mean,
that's an interesting one. So, like, that's some sort of like potential UFO abduction, right? Where like these people were taken, put down, and one was replaced, right? We've heard stories of that kind of thing. You know, if we hear stories all the time,
are we going alien?
Are
we going alien theory?
Well, maybe, right? Maybe a straight replacement, right?
So I just came up with that body snatcher thing on the fly, but this is something I actually thought about a little bit earlier, right? So we have the similarities between Dyatlov Pass, Yuba County, and this, eerily familiar, right? And I kind of already touched on military experiments, but what happens if this was a military experiment, but not necessarily a terrestrial military experiment?
Oh.
So what I'm thinking is like, what happens if they're coming to Earth to study how humans react in certain situations? And they're coming, like you came in 1993. You've chosen this area. It's not necessarily a war zone at this point in time, right? You don't like the chances of you catching, you know, like let's say you're coming down to experience trauma and how people deal with stress and how they react in these traumatic events. And the chances of you coming upon one is probably going to be very slim. So what happens if they're eliciting these responses? What if they're causing them with directed fucking weapons, whether it's an infrasound or something like that, or some type of fucking
cannon?
Right? So what happens if that's the whole purpose they come down here? And that's what they want to see. We want to see how these people are going to react in this situation, so they elicit this fucking response and sit back and watch and see what happens. And now I was confused because like, why would they leave one person to get away? Well, maybe they body snatched somebody on the way out.
Or maybe they let her...
Terrifying thought.
Well, maybe it's less suspicious if you let one get away.
And maybe she doesn't talk anymore because she's getting frequent fucking encounters now. They're checking in on her.
I'd be curious. I'd be curious that if she's an experiencer now, because that would be wild. But again, she's a very private person now, and rightly so. Like,
I would never talk to a soul. Probably.
I wouldn't want to relive this. That's a really interesting one. The UFO angle of whether or not there's the snatching and replacing someone entirely, because they could make up whatever story they wanted to, right? At that point, right? Because it's weird to me. The weird things is that the authorities and the autopsy seeming to be done just so quick.
Almost like something's being covered up.
And the long time for the search to start.
Well, it's like something's being covered up, boys. Maybe they saw something they weren't supposed to see, and maybe Valentina's a sleeper cell, or maybe she was fucking paid off.
Yeah,
sleeper
you know what?
cell. It was her idea to send that was her. She's organized. She made all the contacts. She sent everyone over there.
We got no background stories on her. Who knows? You're going camping with Black fucking Widow here, boys. You don't know.
Well, and that's one of the things that I kind of questioned was like, I was like, is there, because as I was reading the story and looking up, I'm trying to open my mind to every possibility, every possible outcome of what happened here. One of the things that I thought about was, you know, because you want to rule stuff out, right? You want to kind of rule stuff out, suss stuff out. One of the things I thought was, is it possible that Valentina did something to these people and then has just left her like, this is my story? But yeah, like like Andrew said, like could have been a sleeper cell and she gave them some sort of nerve agent. The only thing with that is the one barrier that I couldn't jump over was that these were, you know, by all accounts, good friends. Everyone was good friends in this group, but it does seem like this group was solely put together for this certain hike.
Hiking, yep.
Right? So it's like, how good of friends were they?
Well, there's a big age group, right? 15 to 24? That's like,
yeah.
When you're like
then you got 40-year-old Luda.
When you're 14, like kids change so fast. So a 14-year-old to 24-year-old is like, there's nothing in common. Like it's not part of your friend group unless you're like,
you didn't even watch the same cartoons growing up.
No, you have no idea what's going on.
Be friends.
Zero. Talk about her.
After 2 or 3 years, like kids, like that was a whole different generations. Like they don't.
You were watching Ninja Turtles and they were watching fucking Caillou.
Exactly.
What are you gonna talk to Boom, about?
Just like that.
Nothing. Got nothing for you.
Yeah, so I agree. It was put together for a purpose. It wasn't. They would have become a friend group, like a family group on this trip, because you have to be if you're all trying to survive together and go hiking. But
She infiltrated the group.
Oh, I forgot I had this one too here. Hold on one second. I had this picture. Give me 1 second here.
They do, like they do have video of the bodies, hey?
Yes, you can. I mean, we're not going to show it here, but you can find. You have to do some digging, but there you can find the search and rescue videos.
Yeah.
So I had this. I forgot to put up. So where they died, and unfortunately for Valentina, she was hiking in the wrong direction. Right. There is more stuff further south. I've looked, but so the start point in Marina. To the peak, that is classified on Russian hiking sites as an expert level hike. It is 29 miles of hard terrain.
okay,
So they die just shortly after, and the other portions here kind of vary because it's one of those trails where it's like these other trails in the dotted lines kind of loop in with other trails. You know what I mean? Like there's like 4 or 5 trails.
Huge networks,
Yeah, huge networks. So, but their start point and where they died was an expert level trail. And yeah, she was just hiking down. She would have eventually got somewhere, but she was going in the wrong direction.
But we're still on hiking though. They're not not using ropes and stuff. They're not like climbing yet. It's still hikeable, but yeah, you got to be in shape. You got to know what you're doing in the backcountry there. So what other theories? I mean, we threw a couple wild ones out there, but so pretty much the main story, hypothermia.
The official story is
fucking stinks.
utter garbage.
It leaves way too many open ends.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Yeah.
The mushrooms. They took some very powerful mushrooms that they all hallucinated on. Maybe she didn't take one and she was embarrassed to say it. Or I don't know.
I mean, there's a chance.
Small chance.
Well, yeah,
not as believable.
You know what though? Why wouldn't you though? Why wouldn't you be like, we did all these drugs and I didn't do them and they got fucked up.
Maybe
and,
they didn't know. Maybe somebody, not maybe one of the other people, the less experienced forgers forged them.
Yeah, so I mean, it could have been carelessness. Like she didn't check. Yeah. She got someone to go, gather. She didn't check well enough, and they all ate it. She didn't eat it, or whatever.
Or she did eat it, but she got a good one. Like that wasn't fucked up. Like just literally.
I don't know. It sounds like if she was tripping, she saw some fucked up shit.
And also, people like there's like random people who are just like for some reason it's like probably just don't react to that chemical. Like they're like the freak person. They're like, no, everyone else is going to die from that, but it doesn't affect you.
Yeah, there's
a low chance, but in the realm of possibility, she just wasn't affected by, or she just took a much smaller dose or whatever.
The thing is like we don't get a real account that they were foraging and eating the food they were foraging though. Like,
well, we do know that they foraged rhodiola though, the golden root or whatever. I probably but fucking that up.
For the most, it seems like they brought most of their food.
Yes. Yeah. The issue is again, we only have one account. So, and this is immediately after she's obviously in, severe trauma. Maybe she missed out some details. Maybe she forgot, but that's what we're going off of is that first.
The other thing too, like the full details of the story, like this happened in 1993. The full details in the story didn't come out till when? Like late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah, something like that. 2001.
So I think that's pretty important to mention too.
And even today, looking through material, there's not a lot. This wasn't a widely reported incident.
I mean, it's Russia.
A lot of people say that
you're not going to know.
Well, and it's a tourist area. So the last thing they want to do is be like, hey, come hike our trails where those 6 people mysteriously bled from their eyes.
Yeah, it's not like what the fuck is Dyatlov Pass mean again? It's like, don't come here, you'll die, basically, in Russian.
Yeah, basically, Death Mountain.
This is not, Death Mountain. It's not the same here. Like, this is actually, they welcome people to come here.
This is like, this is Banff of Russia. And it's like,
and
come visit
again, the park. This is like the fall of the Soviet Union. So I still don't think it's like free and open press. I think that was most likely.
This was really close to the collapse.
Reporting of that was hush, swept under the rug because this area's moneymaker is tourism. So the last thing they want is to have people thinking that you're going to just spontaneously die while hiking their trails. Because like, yeah, if this is happening to advanced level hikers and master trackers, like what would the three of us stand? Like we'd be dead stepping out of the car.
Yeah, but I'm not leaving, boys. I'm not even going.
Never get them out
listen, if you learn anything from this podcast, A, don't go hiking. B, don't ever go to fucking Russia. And C, don't go hiking in Russia. Those are the three rules.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time till you go to Russia right now.
Yeah, I'm not getting there anytime soon.
No.
Might
not get out.
Like, this mystery is still alive and well, right? It's hard to find information. A lot of the majority of the information out there is on Russian sites that you have to translate. Some people have put in the work, but again, how much is getting lost in translation and stuff, we don't know. But the mystery is alive and well. Let us know what you think.
Absolutely.
Look up this case. It is truly fascinating. It is as good as Dyatlov Pass for me, like reading it, and it's interesting. There's some really good documentaries on it.
Close.
Short ones, long ones. Give it a check. Shoot us a message on our socials. Let us know what you think when this case file comes out, because we want to know your theories, because as we have these conversations, it kind of unlocks more ideas from people. So, maybe one of you holds the key to cracking this case and, unifying the theory.
Attention, all you internet sleuths.
Internet sleuths.
Fucking solve it, boys.
Solve it, baby. Awesome. Who do we got this week for our theorite of the week?
This week's theorite of the week is Aaron Miklusik. Does that sound right? Am I butchering it?
Mikalukuk.
I might be butchering.
Miskaluk?
I might be butchering this guy's last name, but he definitely did not butcher his fucking tattoo, which he did on himself. Of
So dope.
a fucking alien flipping pancakes on a barbecue,
He's
wearing an apron with the ATT logo on it. It's fucking
love
fantastic.
The Italian entity flipping pancakes, saltless pancakes, I'm sure.
Dude, phenomenal.
It's a me. The entity.
Oh, dude,
It's
so
fucking
good.
good.
Theory of the week. We don't recommend you tattooing yourself, but if you do, that guy, he nailed it.
Hey, you do you. To each his own.
his own.
We loved it.
Yeah, it was great. Next time, if you want to get theory of the week, do it on your face.
Yeah, right. do some Post Malone type shit on your face. Big ATT logo over your eye or something.
Like a teardrop underneath the ATT logo.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of teardrops for people you've killed, it says many times as you've been probed by aliens.
Many times you shit your pants.
Oh shit.
Now, should I play that now?
Yeah, play it now. We got a little
right.
infiltrated again.
Well, the funny thing about this one is they didn't really infiltrate. Our boy Burmeister sent us an email and he's like, yo, this is from the ATI, play it on the show. Normally we get it from a secure channel or some sort of airdrop into our files, but this time it was straight from Burmeister. He told me, I asked, I was like, should I pre-watch this? Is it going to get us canceled? He said, no, you can watch it just live on the show. So I said, okay. And he said, this is a message from the alien theorist Illuminati.
So he's the direct line to the ATI is what you're telling me?
Seems like it.
Well, he seemingly outed himself, I'm guessing. Like he's obviously in communication with them. So
Sloppy.
let's just watch this thing.
We'll watch it. If you're watching,
Can you guys see it?
or listen to the podcast version, we'll post this video on socials so you can have a look.
I can't hear anything, but I can see it.
Wait a second. Was that working?
Video's working, no audio.
I can't hear it.
Hold on.
But you had it
on.
working before.
Fucking Bush League here, boys.
Well, it's because my computer fucking crashed.
Oh, your computer
How
died.
about this?
That's
Following
right.
announcement has
There
been
it
made
is.
for by alien theorist Illuminati.
This is Kevin Nash. This goes out to Zell, Brandon, Dan, Andrew, Byron,
Brandon.
I guess the entire conspiracy.
Guys, maybe one day you'll make this podcast good and put Badass Billy Gunn on there because I make things better. And yeah, Mr. Conspiracy, suck this.
WWE Hall of Famer and cannabis connoisseur, the Godfather.
My name is Raven, professional wrestling superstar, but you already know that.
Hi, Brayden, Sal, Dan, and Andrew.
Day.
Hey guys, I'd like to send a shout
Skull
out
Lion.
to Zell, Braden, Dan, and
The Skull
Andrew.
Lion himself.
Yeah.
Sox 819. Are they out on themselves?
Are they trying to out themselves? Is the ATI unveiling who they are? No. Oh, no.
who saw that
shit.
coming?
Oh, I'm coming for
Yeah.
you. He's been beaking me this whole time.
Uh-oh.
That's a dope logo, though.
Oh, Silver Lotus.
That is a cool logo.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Oh, sodomized.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. They're all outing themselves here.
Canadian legend herself.
Oriana, too?
Oh,
Rihanna.
shit. I didn't see that coming.
Nope. Thunder Buddy.
Thunder Buddy.
Thunder Buddy.
Mrs. Zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist.
Fast Sky in the league.
Mr. Zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist.
Agent
Agent
Anderson.
Anderson. Nice. Who is this? What's your guess?
Oh, who's this
that's
I
motherfucker?
thought
creeping
this
me
was
out.
Caveman, maybe.
Was his tongue sticking out?
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Gregory.
Hey, oh shit.
Ace of Hearts.
Ace of Hearts. Gimme. With Bandito Frito, the leader.
Fearless leader.
Bandito Frito, the fearless leader of the ATI. I
And
recognize
Bernie
that. Burmester? I think you spelled his name wrong on there. Burmester. Oh, they put a little Zeltron on the outro here.
Oh, nice.
Oh. So they outed themselves.
Is that what just happened?
They
That's
outed
it.
themselves.
Oh, wait.
So does that mean they're disbanded?
I couldn't see them just
ATT
outing
Insider?
themselves. That seems too easy.
I don't know. Maybe somebody's blaming it on them.
Cool.
Sweet.
Well, that's cool.
That was cool.
Well, that was a fun. I mean,
So that's it?
You know, they caused us a lot of headache.
They did.
They got.
Oh, what?
Oh.
Is this? That's, oh, what the fuck? Oh my god!
What the fuck?
Blow my eardrums.
Oh my god!
What the fuck?
Yeah, this isn't even. What are you guys up
Is
to,
it
man? This
safe
is
to put my
weird.
headphones back in?
No, it's loud as shit.
Jesus!
What the fuck is this? What language is this?
How am I supposed to sleep after this?
Marshnish, marshnish. He's speaking
can't
Russian?
even put my
Is this a Russian
headphones
message here?
Just
Can you
Nightmare
stop
fuel.
this?
What?
It feels
How long does this
really
go on
uncomfortable.
for?
It's awful.
Jesus. Well,
So we go from like fun, happy video to what the fuck was that?
What the fuck was that?
You guys are lucky I live in Canada, or else I'd be sending my medical bill to you for my burst eardrums there.
Oh shit! What the fuck was that?
That sounded like a
Well,
backwards
please.
message, if I've ever heard one. Especially, you could tell on the laugh at the end. Someone as a reverse laugh. That's what gave it away for me.
Well,
Someone,
whatever it was,
someone clip that and reverse it. What does it say?
I don't ever want to hear that again.
Terrifying.
Yeah. Let's
So-
go back to cameos, please.
So they're trying to they out themselves and then
I was like, that was fun. You guys caused us some headache. It's like, actual headache.
they out themselves. They say who they are. Like, oh, we're giving up, and then they play another message. So is that what?
I don't know.
What was
And then
that?
all of a
I have
sudden,
no
they
idea.
fucking turned us out like these 7 hikers and made us bleed from the ears with that shit.
Yeah, that's
I don't wanna hear that
fucking
again.
loud, dude.
Basically, that was a Mongolian.
Are you
cyclone,
talking right now?
basically.
I can't hear.
My ears are
What?
ringing.
What?
Uh,
Huh?
yeah, Burmese just wanted us to sound like Austin. What?
What?
All right, let's.
Where do you go from there?
All right.
Yeah,
Well, it's been a while
all
since
right.
we thanked those beautiful people who decide to fork over a couple dollars a month to support their favorite show. You know what you get.
Lifeblood of the show, man.
Boom. For every one person who supports for a month is equal to 1,000 freeloaders out there.
Yeah.
We appreciate all of you.
appreciate
but
all of
maybe
you.
some a little more than others.
Yes.
I It's good to inform people that it takes 1,000 listeners to generate the ad dollars of one beautiful supporter.
That is true.
This week's newest supporters actually last a few weeks because we've been gone. We got Eric Wortley. Cole Berry's back with another year pledge.
Oh, Cole Berry, that's fucking beauty. God, I love that guy.
Dan Harris.
Yeah, what a beauty. Never met him.
What?
Oh,
I've never met him.
BRP is back. Black Ron Pond is back.
Oh, shit.
Supporting the show.
Welcome back, bro.
Scott LePage goes up a tier. Chase Lovelace is back. I Am the One Who Knocks is back. I start recognizing these names. They come for a few months, they leave for a few months, they come back again.
Fuck yeah.
Micah Larson.
Oh, he plays for the Cowboys.
Micah Larson does?
Micah Parson.
Oh. Braxton Kidd. Faction. Check out his merch. Trent DiGioia. I fucked that one last time too. Nassim O'Brien. Stokey J. Drummer from Fat Lip. Drummer from Fat Lip? Is that your band name, Fat Lip? Or the song Fat Lip?
Is it a Sum 41 fucking tribute band?
I hope so.
That'd be awesome.
Josh Renaud. Diane Rhodes. Chrissy Bear. Tyler. John Gomez. Eric Laschuk. And Brett Yost. Thank you very much for supporting the show. We appreciate it.
Woo. And as we always say on this show, don't go hiking and stay out of the fucking woods.
Especially in Russia.
See you in After Hours.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.